views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as around New York City, particularly during this Thanksgiving holiday. Coming up on our show, we'll talk about how City Harvest is adjusting their operations during COVID-19 and this holiday season. Then we'll talk to another not-for-profit that's actually providing a continuous lifeline of nourishing meals, as well as companionship to the homebound elderly. And then we're gonna meet Food Bank in their work in New York City as they're taking to the streets for this holiday season. And then a little bit later on in the show, we'll sit with a representative from Feeding Westchester on how they source and distribute food and other resources to towns across Westchester County. And then finally, we'll learn about how a not-for-profit seeks to positively impact seniors' health, mind, body, and spirit by providing health, wellness, and exercise programs. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. And right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, November 25th, and you're watching Open, a live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV sets. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. Now, you can also stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, a lot has certainly been going on in New York City throughout the course of the past week. We can't bring you through everything, but we can take you through a few things with our Bronx updates. We kick off with transit news. The MTA has announced new cuts, possibly for the 2021 budget plan and potential cost-saving measures. The MTA would be forced to make draconian cuts of almost 40% on subways and buses and 50% on commuter railroads, as well as 9,400 layoffs. Board members discussed eliminating 30-day unlimited Metro cards and other day-long passes as a way to raise more revenue. However, other changes in the worst-case scenario budget faces a vote in December, which would drastically change service for all New York City passengers. The subway and bus service cuts could bring about less frequent trains, certain lines losing service during parts of the day, and major weekend changes. MTA Chairman Patrick Foy says, quote, "We're taking the approach of planning for the worst, but leaving room to adjust for the best," end quote. Well, in local news, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the NYPD will no longer respond to nonviolent mental health emergencies. Our BronxNet reporter, Kibben Boleyn, brings us the details.
Addressing the mental health crisis facing many New Yorkers, Mayor de Blasio announced a new initiative aimed to better serve people with mental health challenges.
Today, we're going to talk about how we will fundamentally change the approach to mental health emergencies in this city.
For the first time in New York City history, mental health teams of emergency medical service health professionals, known better as EMS, and mental health crisis workers will be dispatched through 911 to respond to nonviolent mental health emergencies.
Treating mental health crises as mental health challenges and not public safety ones is the modern and more appropriate approach.
This initiative comes after thousands of New Yorkers marched against police brutality several months ago. The city was also criticized for its $5.6 billion budget towards the NYPD, accused of neglecting several needs of the city. Congressmember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was amongst those who made this critique.
You have an entire city budget, and half of that budget goes to policing, and a shred to education, a shred to mental health services, a crumb for hospitals. I mean, when we put more money in that than we put into nurses, and when we put into counselors, and when we put into schools and teachers, we have a problem.
Extensive training for the initiative will begin now, with NYC Health and Hospitals assisting new mental health teams. The city released a statement writing, "These teams will have the expertise to respond to a range of behavioral health problems, such as suicide attempts, substance misuse, and serious mental illness, as well as physical health problems which can be exacerbated by or mask mental health problems."
Pairing mental health professionals with well-trained members of EMS will provide better patient care and better outcomes.
The pilot program will begin in 2 neighborhoods the city describes as high-need communities. The initiative is set to launch February 2021. To learn more, visit nyc.gov. Reporting for BronxNet, Kibben Aline.
And thank you, Kibben. Of course, we'll continue to follow that story here on Open. We've got more Open. That's about all for our Bronx updates. We'll return right after this. And welcome back. In New York City, over 520,000 families are experiencing food insecurity. City Harvest is actually helping to combat the hunger crisis that many families continue to face. The organization has been rescuing food, which would otherwise go to waste, and delivering it to hundreds of soup kitchens and food pantries across the 5 boroughs of New York City. And joining us now to talk about how the organization has actually adjusted its operations in the face of all that's going on in the pandemic is the Director of Policy and Government Relations at City Harvest, Jerome Nathaniel. And Jerome, good to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having City Harvest here again to talk about this very, very important issue.
Yeah, and as we talk about food insecurity, the main thing that people think about sometimes is the day-to-day. But things become a little bit more further exacerbated by the time you get to the holidays. Talk to us about how City Harvest is really addressing the holidays this year.
Yeah, so as you said, hunger isn't something that just pops up during the holidays. It's really year-round. But particularly during the holidays, it's really top of mind because this is a time when we really think about family, festivities, being thankful, and just being able to have plenty and not having to worry where you're going to get your next meal. So there's a lot of attention, understandably so, during this holiday season. So City Harvest is stepping up to make sure that families are able to have food and eat with their family during this holiday season. And we're stepping up by distributing over 14,000 turkeys across our network of pantries and soup kitchens across the 5 boroughs. And we're also, it's all throughout this entire year, increasing the amount of food that we're distributing to nearly 118 million pounds rather throughout this entire year to meet some of that need.
Jerome, give me a little bit about this year. How does this year compare to last year and years prior? Because, of course, we weren't in the pandemic. So this year, I'm assuming a whole lot more.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at a larger context from the past 2 or 3 years, as we're all very familiar with, there was the Great Recession. And then after that, there was an uptick of food insecurity. And then it started this downward trend a little bit recently. So that just shows how long it took to cover from the Great Recession. So as of 2017, we were facing a situation where there were 1.2 million New Yorkers facing food insecurity. Then it went down to about 1,080,000 in 2018. And then we quickly found that that little bit of progress became obsolete this year, unfortunately, due to the economic fallout of the pandemic. So what we're looking at is a near 44% increase in food insecurity for the general population to over 1.5 million New Yorkers, and over 60% for children, or over 500,000 children that are facing food insecurity when compared to the same time in 2018.
When we talk about the work that you guys do, excuse me, it's definitely multi-layered. We talk about the fact that you feed, but also you're involved in anti-hunger and policy advocacy and things like that. As we approach moving towards the new year, obviously a lot of concerns on the part of New Yorkers about hunger and food insecurity. Talk to us a little bit about policy and advocacy and what you see yourselves really being vocal for coming up as we approach this new year.
Yeah, so if you really look at the need and the demand for emergency food, you can almost attach the timing for when more people were going to pantries and soup kitchens to around the same timing when a lot of different relief packages and programs were expiring. So you can look back at September, which was the same time that pandemic unemployment compensation was expiring. That's the extra $600 a week that individuals were receiving, which, by the way, is more than 2 million New Yorkers that are now facing unemployment or made unemployment claims. So around September, there was an uptick in individuals that went to pantry and soup kitchen programs. There was an uptick in individuals that were participating in the SNAP program. So unfortunately, we can almost anticipate that the same thing might happen when even more benefits expire at the end of this year, that people are going to be turning to emergency food programs to make sure that they're able to eat tonight, but also to make sure that people are able to eat tomorrow and throughout the year, to make sure that we're really supporting a comprehensive relief package that increases SNAP benefits and make sure that we're supporting New Yorkers that are facing food insecurity during these uncertain times.
Yeah. And for those New Yorkers who are facing food insecurity in a time like this, talk to us, because some people may not know where to go. And as things continue to change and, life happens, some people just need to have the actual resources of where to go. So where can people go to get some help during a time like this if they're in food insecurity?
Yeah, so one thing I like to say is that we can't feed people retroactively. So we're going to continue to advocate for another relief package that is long overdue, and hopefully we see it early next year. But the fact of the matter is, while we're waiting for that relief package, people need to eat today. So I encourage people to go to City Harvest website, and you can look at our food map where it says find food. And we have a listing of all of our emergency food programs. We also have a listing of all of the DOE school food hubs, because you can pick up food at select DOE schools, especially during these school closures. That's really important. And we also have on our map where we had over 30 entirely new programs that we're able to open in areas that may have had pantries closed down, or there were gaps in services.
Well, I know you guys are doing some great work at City Harvest, and you've talked about some of the things that you're doing. Can you tell us exactly how people could actually participate in being a partner and supporting the work that you guys have going on?
So there's a number of ways. So right now we're really at the heart of our daily news food drive. And for New Yorkers that have been born and raised here, if you grew up in the DOE, then you're probably familiar with there being this can drive competition and reading the daily news and seeing City Harvest all over. So this time of year, from November all the way through January 21st, we're having our daily news food drive. And you can do so by dropping off non-perishable items at NYPD or FDNY station near you. We've also transitioned to make it a little more digital, given the current situation. And we have a platform where you can organize to have fresh food delivered directly to City Harvest. And of course, there's always the possibility of just donating monetarily, because $1 enables City Harvest to feed 2 New Yorkers.
Yeah. And so from your perspective, do you see things getting better or worse given the fact of where we are today?
I would say that it's a process, that we remain hopeful, and we remain committed to collaborating with all of our food donors, all of New Yorkers that have stepped up and volunteer, our 400 pantries and soup kitchens that are continuing to do this work. It's not going to be fixed overnight. I think one thing to really pay attention to on how long this might take is that even though unemployment rates are very, very slowly going down, it was about 20% during the summer, and now it's more like citywide, which by the way, still remains closer to 20% in the Bronx specifically. Those unemployment rates are going down, but food insecurity is going up. It's still going steadily up. So we know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's going to be a process that we're going to have to continue to make sure that we're increasing the food that we're sharing that we're delivering to our partners, that we're focusing on healthful food, and that at the same time, we're also advocating for a comprehensive relief package to support families.
Yeah. Jerome, we got to leave it there, but thank you so much for the great work that you guys are doing at City Harvest, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Happy holidays to you too. Happy Thanksgiving.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon. Jerome, Nathaniel from City Harvest. Now, if you want more information, you can visit their website at cityharvest.org. Once again, the website, cityharvest.org. We are taking a quick break, but we do have more open when we return. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this. And welcome back to the show. Citymeals on Wheels is a not-for-profit organization that provides a continuously lifeline of nourishing meals and vital companionship to New York City's elderly, as well as those who are homebound. As the designated emergency responder for the city seniors, Citymeals has delivered over 1.4 million meals since the start of COVID-19. With the threat of a frigid winter and the fear of an ongoing pandemic, with the virus coming back possibly again, what initiatives and precautions are Citymeals actually taking in the upcoming months? Well, we're pleased to be joined by our very special guest, Vivienne O'Neill, who is the Senior Director of Volunteer Programs and Corporate Engagement at Citymeals on Wheels. And Vivienne, good to have you.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
And thank you. And as we say during this time, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for all the great work that you guys do. When we talk about Citymeals, obviously the question of the day is, how is this Thanksgiving a little bit more different than everybody else's? I mean, than every other year, I should say.
It's different because we have COVID in the mix of all of this. And although we do have COVID playing a part in how we deliver meals to our homebound seniors, it hasn't stopped us. We haven't played from what we do on a daily basis. Thanksgiving is a special time for us because that's about the time Citymeals on Wheels was born. And we are out there delivering meals on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. And for seniors who have the opportunity to really receive these meals, you deal with seniors, you deal with the homebound, the elderly. Talk about the importance of what it means to actually receive a meal at home during a time like this.
Citymeals on Wheels right now, since COVID began, we're feeding nearly 20,000 homebound seniors. And these are individuals who are 60 or older, unable to shop or cook for themselves and have no one to do it for them. And so we're there, we're a lifeline for them. We're not just delivering meals, we're also a contact, a connection to the outside world. We save lives, not only from delivering the meals, but making that face-to-face contact with our seniors. However, as I said, the face-to-face contact is now we're doing, precautions, taking precautions of staying the 6 feet apart, but making that connection, showing our faces, a friendly face to our seniors so that they know we still care and we're still out there supporting them.
Yeah, and this particular year, with Thanksgiving coming, there is an extra push and extra effort. Give us a little bit more about that extra effort that Citymeals is making now.
And right now, since COVID, we've had over 7,000 volunteers who have helped us. That's about nearly 27,000 hours of service. Thanksgiving Day, we're looking at upwards of 300 volunteers on Thanksgiving Day delivering meals, still out there delivering these meals to our seniors on the day to make sure that they know that we're there for them. They're still very special to us.
And,
sorry.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And the meals we're delivering, they're nutritious meals, and we're going to their doors. And as I said before, checking in on them.
And I know that checking in on them is very important, and staying connected to them is very important. And one of the things I know that you guys have done is actually had a virtual event. And that virtual event, even though we're in COVID, you still didn't let that stop you. So give us a little bit about the virtual event and how that went.
That was an amazing, amazing event. I was in tears. I felt so proud of the organization that I work for, and we went full speed and pivot to produce this extraordinary virtual event to raise money so that we can feed our homebound seniors. And our organization, 100% of every penny donated to Citymeals on Wheels goes directly to the preparation and delivery of meals. And so this event helps us to provide these vital needs that our seniors need. The meal is only $8.
Amazing work. For people who want to help and assist Citymeals with the work that you guys do, how do they do that?
We have a very robust website, citymeals.org, and anyone can go on our website. You can donate, you can volunteer. If you know anyone who needs a meal, go on our website, you type in your zip code, there you go. You're connected to a case management agency who will then get the senior started on the program. Or also calling 311. Anyone out there who needs a meal, just reach out to us by calling 311, or if you have the ability to go to our website. Go to volunteer, get a meal.
Yeah. I want our viewers to have an opportunity to know a little bit more about some of the work that your volunteers are actually doing. And on Thanksgiving, you're actually going to be delivering 25,000 meals. As said earlier, with all the fixings, over 250 volunteers will actually be taking place and pitching in this day during COVID and the coronavirus. What does that mean for you as an organization? Having these 250 people out there, having these 250,000 meals being delivered in the midst of a pandemic?
It means that we're sticking to our mission to make sure that our seniors never go without a meal. And Thanksgiving Day is a special day. It's a day of food. And as I said, Citymeals was founded around Thanksgiving, the holidays when older New Yorkers were going without food, days without food because of lack of government funding. However, on Thanksgiving Day, it's special. It's bringing a hot meal and a friendly face and a visit.
And as far as challenges, I mean, obviously every organization has its own set of challenges. What are some of the challenges that you guys are facing in this particular season?
The challenges is essentially funding. We're always in need of donations. We're always in need of volunteers, and we do take the precautions. And also volunteers not only are delivering meals, we're looking for volunteers who will do that wellness call, that check-in, to make that phone call once a week for about 20 minutes, checking in on our seniors. We're looking for volunteers to make cards, birthday cards, holiday cards, Christmas cards. You name the title, you name the holiday, there's a card that's made. And it's a great opportunity for family and friends to get involved with, kids as well. And every little bit counts. That card that is put in that bag of food that's delivered to the senior's door many times, particularly on a birthday when they receive a birthday card, it's the only time they remember that it is their birthday on that day. So the cards are so important as well.
Yeah. And as we get ready to go towards 2021, obviously, we want to first get past Thanksgiving, but we have to really put our eyes on 2021. How do you anticipate things moving for you guys at Citymeals on Wheels, given the fact that, number one, we have these numbers that are continuing to rise and possibly the threat of more people standing in need?
It's going to be a challenging time for us. It's going to be a challenging time in the sense of the isolation that our seniors may be feeling, the anxiety they may be feeling, thinking that, who's coming to visit me? Am I going to get my food? And we want to make sure that we're out there letting them know that we're still there. Challenges are, again, funding. Challenges are getting volunteers to help us. About 40%, nearly 40% increase in food insecurities throughout New York, and so that we are always in need of all the help we can get.
Yeah. Well, Vivienne, we got to leave it there, but thank you so much for sharing with us here and letting us know about City Meals on Wheels. Blessings to you guys for the work that you're doing. Over 250,000 people are going to be blessed on Thanksgiving because of the great work of City Meals. Thank you much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us and for shouting out City Meals on Wheels.
All righty. Well, we want to let you know if you want more information, please visit their website at citymeals.org. Once again, the website, citymeals.org. We do have more open. We encourage you to stay with us. We'll return right after this.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently, learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
And thank you for staying with us. Food Bank for New York City is the city's major hunger relief organization working to end hunger throughout New York City in all of our 5 boroughs. Now, nearly 1 in every 5 New Yorkers relies on Food Bank for food, as well as other resources. A recent report from the Food Bank showed that their demand on city's emergency food network has also surged, with 91% of food pantries and soup kitchens reporting an increase in first-time visitors. What exactly does that mean, and how do we look towards the future? Well, we're pleased to be joined by the Vice President of Institutions and Partnerships at Food Bank for New York City, Ms. Janis Robinson, and thank you so much for being with us, Janis.
Thank you so much for having us. What that means is that there is such a growing demand of people who don't typically come to food banks or food pantries for services are in lines now looking for support. So just to give you a sense of what that means, typically at this time of the year, we will have served over 44 million meals. We've actually served 56 million meals. So the numbers have increased quite a bit. And again, that's largely because there are a lot of people who are coming to receive our support for the first time.
Yeah. And when we talk about these families, you've got boots on the ground. What are we seeing? I mean, you're talking about these first time. Is it due to COVID? Is it due to the economy? What can we attribute this to?
So that's such a good question. It's actually a combination thereof. There are so many people who have lost their jobs as a result of COVID. And so then that trickles into effects on the economy as well. So there are people coming to the line and telling us, I've lost my job, I can't pay rent, I'm having to make decisions between what I do pay, and sometimes food is something that goes to the bottom of the list. And so we're really trying to help those people who are experiencing serious hardship for the first time.
Yeah. And so looking at New York City as a whole right now, we know that unemployment is high. We know that people are really dire for food, and this insecurity is huge. What are you hearing in regards to shortages? Is there a shortage of food actually to be able to be distributed, given the fact that your numbers are actually rising? Are you able to actually keep up and meet the demands?
Yeah, so that is such a good question as well. The supply chain is absolutely having a shortage of food. The good news for us is that we have a lot of good partners. So thankfully, we are receiving donations. We are just praying that they can hold out until we get to an end of this whole pandemic. So we're relying on donations for the most part, and the support of a lot of donors, financial donors as well.
Yeah. And usually during this time of year, obviously you have your own set of challenges as you get towards the holidays. More and more people do actually request food. Talk to us about what's going on for the holiday season for you guys, and how you're able to manage.
So we do have, again, donations that we're getting. And when I say donations, I'm referring to some of the food donations that we're getting. So thankfully, we have good partners like Stop and Shop, like Wakefern, the parent company for ShopRite. We have the World Central Kitchen. They've all made donations of turkeys or meat from turkeys, turkey breasts and so on. Additionally, we do have supply have been able to provide donations for the fixins. So we have cans of cranberry sauce, bags of rice, packages of corn muffin mix, yams, cans of yams, and other vegetables. So that has been super helpful. And then we try to round that out with fresh produce donations that we receive as well. Finally, what we're really ultimately trying to do is ensure that people have enough food for a healthy, nutritious meal for their families during this time.
Yeah. And for organizations or individuals that are actually trying to access the work that you guys do, access this and say, listen, I'm a person that really, stands in need. How do they go about connecting with Food Bank?
So what we want people to do is go on our website, www.foodbanknyc.org, and we have a list of all of the agencies that are open. And so when I say agencies, I mean food pantries and soup kitchens that are open throughout the 5 boroughs. And we want people to then go in, drill down to an agency that is open within their zip code range. And so we have about 800 agencies that are listed on our website, and we encourage people to go on and find them that way.
Yeah. And COVID-19 obviously continues to impact New York City in a major way. Talk to us about how that impact has affected Food Bank and how you guys have actually made the pivot in the midst of all of that.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So typically we have about 1,000 agencies that we work with throughout the 5 boroughs. Some of those agencies have had to close. And so we've had to do things like establish what we're calling community resource partners. They are some of our larger agencies that can absorb more food and then help fill the gap for those agencies that have had to close. Additionally, we've done a number of pop-up distributions. So these are like one-time distributions that we've done with partners like Barclays Center, Lincoln Center, Yankee Stadium. And at those locations, we've set up emergency food distributions so that we can help supply those communities that have had losses as a result of agencies that have had to close.
Yeah. Looking forward to 2021. Obviously, a lot of people say, I'm just trying to get out of 2020, right? But we do have to look towards 2021. And I've asked our guests throughout the course of the show, how do you envision things going for you, particularly as we pivot towards 2021? Numbers are increasing in terms of rate of infection. In addition to the rate of infection, of course, unemployment numbers continuing to rise as well.
So we continue to provide as much in the way of support as we can. We don't see it decreasing, we see it increasing. So thankfully, we've got some good partners who've already made a commitment to support us so that we can support those in need. I literally just got off the phone with the Yankees, for example, and they said, Janis, we are having conversations about more ongoing distributions, emergency distributions at our stadium. Would you be interested in that? And I said, absolutely. So just to let you know, thankfully, we do have partners that are committed to helping us during this tough time.
Yeah, and it's a tough time. And for you personally, give us, your perspective as you've seen this whole process actually play out. I don't think anybody anticipated that we would still be here in November, Thanksgiving. The original thought was maybe we'll do this a couple of months, right? Now here we are all the way in November at Thanksgiving. For your organization, what's it been like for you and your organization?
So it's been tough. But we're on the ground, as you said at the beginning of this conversation. We are on the ground, and so we're talking to the people who are coming through the line. A lot of times they're coming with their children. Their children are out of school. That presents a challenge for them as well. And so we're hearing stories firsthand. My electricity's been cut off. Thank you for the food that has to be cooked. I unfortunately can't cook it. That's a story that we've gotten. And people are just really in need. So we feel grateful that we have continued to get the support that we've gotten. We just know that the numbers are going to continue to increase. And so we continue to rely on those donors that can help us out.
All right. Well, Jan, let's keep those boots on the ground. Thank you for the great work that the Food Pantry of New York City is doing. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All righty. Well, listen, if you want more information, you can visit the website at foodbanknyc.org. Once again, foodbanknyc.org. We thank Janis for joining us. And yes, we do have more shows, so stay with us. Open will return right after this. And welcome back. Across New York State, individuals are suffering from food insecurity as well as hunger. Feeding Westchester is Westchester County's leading not-for-profit hunger relief organization with a mission to end hunger in Westchester County. Now, the organization sources and distributes good, nutritious food and other resources from every community in Westchester, from Mount Vernon all the way to Mohegan Lake, serving more than 300,000 residents. Joining us now to share a little bit more about the great work that is going on is the Senior Director of Individual Giving at Feeding Westchester, Jeanne Fogel. And Jeanne, good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad. We've been talking across New York City. We've been going to the 5 boroughs, and now we're up in Westchester. And I know that you guys continue to do the great work of making sure that we can do our part in terms of ending hunger. We know how things work from a New York City perspective, but also give us a glimpse into how hunger is really impacting your residents of Westchester County.
Absolutely, and thank you for asking. I think a lot of people don't realize that hunger is here in Westchester. Even before COVID, we estimated about 200,000 people were hungry in Westchester, and that's a variety of different reasons, but a lot of that is due to high cost of living in Westchester. During COVID, we've seen unemployment go from what used to be about 3.5% to 4% to as high as 14% in July, and it seems to have settled around 7%. So that puts a lot of people unemployed and a lot of people in need of food assistance. Pre-COVID, we fed between about 120 and 150,000 people in each month at the different ways they can receive food from us are through our agency partners as well as our own mobile pantries. And during COVID, as you said, Daren, we've seen as many as 300,000 of our neighbors who are hungry need food assistance and receive food through Feeding Westchester.
And when we talk about Feeding Westchester, you're an organization, we said it's a not-for-profit that's one of the largest in terms of dealing with the issue of hunger. A little bit more about Feeding Westchester for those who may not know.
Sure. So we are the area's food bank. We used to be called the Food Bank for Westchester, but we changed our name about 2 years ago to Feeding Westchester to better convey what we do, because we sure aren't banking food and keeping it on shelves here. We are quickly getting it out to our hungry neighbors in need. And so Feeding Westchester works with about 300 different partners all across Westchester. And that can look like a soup kitchen down the street or a food pantry in a house of worship or community center. It also looks like relationships with schools and municipalities and school districts. Healthcare partners are one of our newest additions. So all these different relationships and partners help us distribute either through a food pantry or directly from a Feeding Westchester truck right to our hungry neighbors in need. So we stretch, as you said, all the way from Mount Vernon and Yonkers all the way to Mohegan Lake, Yorktown. North Salem was a recent addition, and we really work every single day to help feed our neighbors who are hungry all across this county.
And when we talk about the work that goes on in terms of donors, I know you do some great work in terms of getting connected with donors. What's it been like for you dealing with donors in this season, particularly not just the holiday season, but also as we're talking about COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're really grateful for the support of donors. People have really been incredibly empathetic, compassionate, and generous to their fellow neighbors. And that's how often we ask people to please consider giving and helping your fellow neighbor. Because for many people, they don't realize that hunger might be right in their lovely community. So as I said, people have been incredibly generous. Individuals, foundations, and corporations have been very generous in general, but I think particularly, and not only I think, actually, we know from our data that donors have been incredibly generous during COVID and really come forward. People making some of the biggest gifts of their lives during COVID to help support companies and foundations, again, being very supportive. And really, we can't do it without everyone's help. Feeding Westchester, like many food banks, receives some support from the county, the state, and federally, we receive support in terms of food given and provided to us, but we couldn't do the work we do without the help of our neighbors, individuals, foundations, and corporations that help support Feeding Westchester.
Yeah. And when we talk about the holidays, obviously we're preparing a holiday coming up with Thanksgiving. How are you guys preparing to navigate through both Thanksgiving and we can fast forward to the rest of the holidays for the year?
Absolutely. And that's a great topic. And we appreciate that during the holidays, people do think so much about great holiday meals. And we are just thrilled to be providing more than 8,000 turkeys this year. Last year, I believe it was about 6,000. So this year, actually the number is 8,040 turkeys are being provided across Westchester. And so we're super excited about being able to help people have special holiday meals at this time. Sure, those are going to look a lot different for people. People across the county are going to have different Thanksgivings than they usually do, much smaller. And we are concerned about seniors who will be at home and families who will have much less at this time because of unemployment. So we're really proud of the turkeys, but we also think more broadly about how we're helping to feed people all the time. The night up before Thanksgiving and the days right after Thanksgiving. So we are really proud to be distributing twice as much food this year as we distributed last year. So to give you a sense, and these numbers are a little, but to date this year, we've distributed more than 18 million pounds of food. And that's a crazy big number. I think what helps explain it is last year, the same period of time, we did about a little over 9 million. So we have doubled the amount of food we're distributing. So I think we're doing a lot to help people have food at the holidays, not only on Thanksgiving with that great turkey, but every day up to Thanksgiving and all the days after Thanksgiving, and all the way up through the end of the year. We're going to continue to do all we can to continue to appeal to the community to be supportive and to try to keep distributing at that rate of more than twice what we did last year to keep meeting that increased demand for food assistance.
Those are massive numbers. And how do you navigate, given the fact that you've got this huge, need? You almost double. You talk about giving away 9 million, pounds of food. Now you're up to 18. That's double. How have you been able to maintain?
That's a great question. So a couple of different ways. One of the most fabulous things our operations and warehouse team did is really quickly realize what they could do in speeding up, in a sense, and making more efficient our usual process of working with our food pantry and soup kitchen partners. So typically, Daren, let's say you were running a food pantry in White Plains. You, before COVID, would have been able to go into our system and make some selections of what you'd like, and you would receive that food. Because you knew your agency liked green beans or rice, and you could make those selections, and our team would go in and hand pick and make that order and deliver it to your doorstep. Well, during COVID, we had to move at a much faster rate. We were receiving receiving food through the federal programs like Farmers to Families and food in all sorts of different ways. We couldn't necessarily slow down and make that custom order for your particular food pantry, but we could give you twice as much food, and it would be a nice assortment of shelf-stable items. It would probably have the green beans and rice, but it also would have some oatmeal, and it would have all sorts of great shelf-stable, reliable items. And so we could double the amount we were giving to some of our agency partners by moving away from a custom order and pre-packing this great array. Oh, and it also often contains shelf-stable milk, something that's may or may not be in your household, but is really appreciated by our food pantries because of the ease of storing it. So we could provide these great pallets, big stacks of food that are really easily transportable, and we were able to give twice as much to our pantries. So that was a great way. We also added some what we called emergency partners or pop-up partners. So as I mentioned, the town of North Salem we had not had a relationship, and the school district there was really excited to actually have us come with a truckload of food to their school, to the campus of their school, and distribute food. And that's just one partnership. We also did that with the municipality of White Plains, with the school district in Ossining, with the school district in Yonkers over the summer. And these were partners that we had discussions with of, hey, we could work together in this way. And all of a sudden during COVID, people said, we really need to help feed our constituents, our population of White Plains, or the kids being served by a school, and said, how can we work together? and people came together in amazing ways. And in Yonkers, for instance, we were sending, I think it's something like 30,000 pounds of food to the Yonkers School District. They had volunteers from the community come in and pack those bags, go out to 9 different of their schools, so families in those school districts could be served. So when you asked how we're doubling it, we are just working in incredible ways and being flexible and innovative every day to see how we can get food out into the community.
Yeah, the word incredible is what you use, and you guys have been doing incredible work, double the workload, and you guys are still getting it done. Jeanne Fogel, thank you so much for being with us here on the set of Open. Thanks much.
Daren, thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Listen, now, if you want more information about Feeding Westchester, all you got to do is go to their website. What is it? Very simple. feedingwestchester.org. We're hearing a lot about how people are really trying to navigate during this season. The need for food and food security, insecurity is huge. So much to be thankful for during this Thanksgiving holiday. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more show coming up right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And thank you for staying with us. Carter Burden Network is a not-for-profit organization that is promoting the well-being of seniors that are 60 years of age and older through a continuum of services, advocacy, arts, and culture, as well as health and wellness and volunteer programs, all oriented to individual, family, as well as community needs. The organization serves as a network of centers, programs, and services that work together with government, corporate, as well as individual and community partners, leading the way in aging services in New York City. Joining us now to share a little bit more about the work is the Director of Health and Wellness Initiatives at Carter Burden Network, Dr. Dozene Guishard, and we thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Guishard.
Thank you so much. We are, as you have mentioned, that we are a nonprofit organization with the intent mission of serving the needs of older adults, 60 and older, located on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and East Harlem communities. We have 4 senior centers where we provide congregate meals as well as all types of recreational and social activities. And we're fortunate enough to have one of the only art galleries for older professional artists in New York City, and to our knowledge, throughout the state of New York as well. We were founded by a council member, Carter Burden, and his family found a need to address major challenges that the seniors were experiencing, such as food insecurity, housing, inappropriate housing, and social isolation. And that still remains a core component of our advocacy to help the seniors that we serve through our various centers. We also offer case management, social services, and we are the designated agency for the Borough of Manhattan Elder Abuse Unit. So we tried to take into account the mind, body, and spirit of the seniors that we serve.
Yeah, and when we talk about seniors, obviously a most vulnerable population, particularly throughout COVID-19, trying to navigate this. Talk to us about how you've been able to keep your hand in the pulse on seniors, given the fact that we've got social distancing and a whole lot of isolation right here.
We had to pivot very quickly. And our biggest concern, how would we stay in contact with our seniors, understanding that many of them may not have the technology or the technical aptitude to participate through a Zoom or Facebook and other things. So we instituted several critical programs and strategies. The first being our wellness calls. We make wellness calls on a weekly basis to all of our seniors to check in with them, to have that friendly voice that they have come to appreciate and love and want to hear on a regular basis. Our other strategy was to institute the broadcast calling system. This was a communication system that we established where we push out messages to all of our seniors about important information about where to go to get food, any kind of activities, our Zoom programming, and we have messages around important issues about safety during COVID, as well as about flu vaccines and other very important messages. In addition to that, we have engaged in a very robust virtual classes where we have Zumba, we have art classes, we have provided our seniors with a wealth of diverse kinds of programming. We've had health topics that talk about the aging eye. We've had workshops that talk about sleep disturbances. We offer caregiver support programs. We've had interesting lectures by healthcare professionals that really talk about maintaining the safety during this time. And our key goal, or our primary goal, is to ensure that our seniors are food secure and that they do not remain isolated.
When we talk about isolation, that's huge during this time of year. I mean, you know, the holidays can be a time of isolation, not to mention what we're dealing with right now with this virus and the pandemic. When we talk about the wellness programs that are geared towards meeting their needs, what are some of the things that seniors can actually participate in to really keep them connected even now?
Well, as I mentioned about our robust virtual programming, we have Zumba classes where seniors can sign up and they can see their other friends from the center, and they can participate in chair exercises. They can also, we've offered Tai Chi classes via Zoom. We are offering seniors the opportunity to stay engaged. And yes, we know that engaging through technology is not easy for all of our seniors. There are seniors who may not have Wi-Fi access or the equipment to engage. We also provide telephone opportunities as well to stay engaged with our seniors. We will have a telephone chat. Our seniors know how to reach us on a regular basis. As I mentioned earlier, that the broadcast calling, we have issued over 20,000 broadcast messages to our seniors. And they look forward to getting these messages and staying in contact with our staff, but also with each other. So the programming has been a great way to keep them connected. We also have, at one of our senior centers out in Roosevelt Island, we have a pilot project using the Echo Show where we're keeping seniors engaged through using this device. So we're trying all different types of strategy because there isn't one strategy that will fit all. And we're very much aware of that. And we know that we have pre-COVID and we have post-COVID. And we know that post-COVID will offer us unique opportunities for exploring hybrid models of in-person as well as technology-driven programming.
When we talk about these reassurance calls that are given to seniors, right? They're a call that's basically a wellness call to actually check in and give reassurance. From your experience, talk to me about the impact of that, what that means in the life of a senior in particular.
They say, well, one, I'm checking in with a familiar voice. They understand what I'm going through. If I have some concern about being concerned around food security, they can share with us, or we share with them where they can go to get grab-and-go meals. We offer a pantry for seniors to come and pick up meals. They also share about their personal feelings as well. They let us know what's happening with their families. We are the friendly voice that many do not have. And we are very much aware of the value of that friendly voice on the other line. Just having someone to listen to what concerns you have goes a very long way, and they let us know that.
What do you see happening in the year 2021 as we're getting ready to cross the finish line here? Talk to us a little bit about what Carter Burden has coming up in the future. Obviously, we're just trying to make it through, but you got to have your eyes fixed on 2021.
So what we are doing in terms of preparing sort of that, what we call the post-COVID era, we'll be developing hybrid model programming. For example, seniors enjoy coming into the center. It's that personal contact that we're all wired for. And we also know that there are seniors who cannot make it into the center because there may be mobility challenges, or someone might be ill for a period of time, but still want to remain engaged. So the hybrid model for us will be in person. We plan to continue our broadcast messaging, as well as offering ongoing virtual Zoom classes. We feel that that combination is a great way to keep connected to our seniors throughout. Before COVID, we had some of that in place, but COVID offered a silver lining for us to take a fresh look at how we deliver our services. So we're excited about this new opportunity and can't wait to get to 2021.
For people who want to get connected to Carter, the Carter Burden Network, talk to us about how they can do that.
Well, first, what they can do is call our main number, which is 212-879-7400. That number again is 212-879-7400. And that is our main number. And when you call, you can let them know what you're interested, what kinds of activities and programs you're interested in, and they will direct you to the appropriate person. We also have our website at carterburdennetwork.org, and that will have a whole list of various programs and calendars and how you can stay in contact with us and follow what we're doing. We're also on social media platforms at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those. So we welcome your viewers to visit us and check out what we have to offer. We would love to share more with them.
All righty, Dr. Dozene Guishard, thank you so much for being with us here on Open. Want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving and continue the great work with Carter Burden Network. Listen, if you want more information, we encourage you, please go right to their website. The website, carterburdennetwork.org, and you can find out more information there. Now, if you want any more information about any of our guests, well, guess what? You can find out as you check out the Recablecast, because unfortunately our show is over for today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. And yes, if you missed any part of today's show, catch the Recablecast here on BronxNet Channel 67, Verizon Fios, that'd be Channel 2133, and anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. And we want to thank our viewers again for watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. As we prepare for the Thanksgiving holiday, certainly, as you've heard through all of our guests, there is a lot to be thankful for. A lot of people in our country are struggling right here in New York City, right also in Westchester County and across New York State. So remember, do your best to keep your heart, your mind, this channel wide open, and make a difference in somebody else's life, particularly at a time like this. Daren, Jaime, for us all on the set of Open, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. If you want to come back on Friday morning, my girl Rena Valentine will join us with a new episode with a particular feature on arts and entertainment. Until then, take care, God bless, and keep this channel wide open.